Hi, I'm MaryAnn Glass. I live in Wappingers Falls. I'm a photographer. I specialize in the iPhone, and I also do cyanotypes. And I just recently joined the Queen City Gallery.
Hi, MaryAnn Glass. This is Suprina from Queen City 15, and we're so happy to have you here. I wanted to ask you some questions. So many people young in their careers don't have the choice to be artists. They have to pay the bills. So they have to do something besides art. They take on jobs that have little to do with art and expression. I myself was a prop master, and I worked in the field for many years. And I had an epiphany when 9/11 happened and projected my art career after that because I felt my mortality. I happened to live in the neighborhood of 9/11 when it happened. So that was my big switch from regular job to aspiring to what I always wanted to do. I'm wondering if you could tell me what yours was, because you had a corporate job.
Yeah, and people say bad things about corporate jobs, but actually I learned so much from it. It was just amazing, and I learned to interact with many different kinds of people. I learned how to get things done with many different kinds of people, and that's really been invaluable. I was a writer and an editor, so I wasn't in this fast track of the bank. I was with a bunch of very intelligent women who did crossword puzzles, and we'd sit and chat, and it was a great group. And I was always being hired by academics who had decided to go into the business world, who had been from the Midwest, which I'm from Ohio. So it was really good, I have to say. But I turned 50, and I had been taking workshops for many years. That's how I did my vacations, basically, and in photography. And I'd done darkroom work and rented dark rooms in the city to do things. So I had done quite a bit. And there was a summer intensive program that I'd always heard about in Missoula, Montana. So I went to my boss and I said, everyone else is getting maternity leaves, and I'm not going to have a maternity leave, obviously, but can I get 3 months off too? And so
That's fantastic.
The wording on getting a leave was actually pretty loose. So I got an unpaid leave. And I went to Missoula, Montana, and to the summer intensive program at the Rocky Mountain School of Photography. And I wanted to learn everything, and they really did. Over 3 months, learned everything. And I came back, and then I quit my corporate job. I had gotten an inheritance from my father, so I thought, I'm 50, I could do something different. I've got a little bit of freedom to do this. What do I want to do? And so that's what happened. And I had a friend who moved up to the Hudson Valley, and I had visited her, and I liked the feel of the area. It was sort of very serene. So I thought, well, I've lived in the city for 25 years. I can move and get a car and an extra room. So I did all that, and I started doing arts and crafts shows.
Very cool. I love what Gary Winograd, a famous photographer, said. Quoting him, he said, "A photograph must be more interesting than the thing being photographed," unquote. Often, for example, when I'm standing somewhere high and I see this great abyss, my first reaction is to grab my camera and take a picture, but I'm always let down with the results. How do you create a photo that's more interesting than the real thing?
Well, I think you have to understand the difference between a camera and your eye. I mean, our eyes can see this much, and a camera can sort of see this much. And if you do a vista, it's always blue because we don't see the ultraviolet rays, for example. So you sort of have to learn what it looks like to the machine. And that's just by taking a ton of photographs. And then you'll know the next time you go up in the mountaintop, you need a foreground. You need to put a rock in there, or a tree, or something like that. And it's like any rule of composition. You've got the rule of thirds, you've got foreground, middle ground, and background. It's the same thing, and I think in all art. And it's just taking a lot of photos, looking at them and go, that worked. No, that didn't work so much. And with the digital cameras, you can take photos and see immediately if it's successful or not. Now, there are surprises. I'll take them on the phone, and I'll put it on my laptop, and things I didn't like very much all of a sudden look really good, and vice versa. So there are always surprises in photography.
Trial and error, a lot of trial and error, it sounds like.
It's experience, you know.
Yeah.
And also I've taken a lot of workshops, and you know, you get instruction, and that's always very helpful.
Right. Artists in general, but photographers in particular, have gotten so many new options because of the tech devices and apps that we now have. How has this boom affected your work? And do you miss the good old days of hands-on process?
No. I did learn darkroom, and at the Rocky Mountain School of Photography, that was pre-digital, so we did darkroom. And I was a competent darkroom printer. And but it's so frustrating because you get almost to the last point and there's like a piece of dust and you have to start all over again. Or you get the perfect photograph and then you have to start all over again for the next one. Digital, you archive, you get it where you want it, you archive it. It's always that way, which is really nice. Yeah. And I was sort of forced into it. I was doing wedding photography with a friend, and the wedding photography went big into digital for obvious reasons. You're not buying film, you're not having to change film during the wedding. Digital film is much clearer. It shoots much better in the dark. So we were forced into it. And then once we got into it, we're like, oh, okay, this is actually pretty good. And for the iPhone, I took a class with Dan Burkholder, who's in the Catskills here, and he's the godfather of iPhone. And he was the first one to say, this is not a point and shoot camera. This is a dark room in your hand.
Oh, wow.
And I took a course, and we were all like, wow, this is really so cool. And this was like iPhone 3. And needless to say, I used to carry a Nikon with 2 lenses and a changing bag and a tripod. And now I just carry my phone in my purse, and it's always there.
Amazing. And no back problems.
No.
I see through these processes that you've settled, at least for now, on iPhoneography and
cyanotypes.
Cyanotypes.
They're the blue and white prints, like blueprints, or cyanotypes, actually.
Can you explain the process of that for people who don't know what that is?
It's it's an early 19th century process. It's a very simple one, and you have these chemicals. There's 2 chemicals, and you put them together. Don't ask me what they are. I think they're iron oxides of some sort. And you brush them on a piece of paper, and you let it dry. And you take something, you put it on top. You can either do a digital negative that you've prepared in a certain way. You can take weeds, you can take lace, you can take anything that has some sort of translucency or small pattern. You put a piece of glass on it, you put it outside, and a really sunny day in the summer, it's 5 minutes. You bring it back in, you put it underwater. When you bring it up in the sun, it's gray with sort of chartreusey highlights. You put it underwater, it becomes blue and white, and that's it. So it's really a magical process. And it's very non-toxic, it's very simple, it's very satisfying.
Very cool. I'm sure we'll be seeing some of those in the gallery.
Yes.
Cool. In the last 4 years, you've been teaching workshops using your cell phone apps. Can you tell us a little bit about how those classes happen and who joins them pre-COVID, post-COVID? Is there a difference?
I haven't done anything post-COVID yet, but I don't see any reason why I couldn't at this point. Basically, you bring your iPhone or your iPad. If you have an iPad, that's really nice because it's a bigger screen. After Dan Burkholder's class, we all went out and bought iPads, I think. But you can do it on your phone. And there's one app that everyone uses, and it's so powerful. And it's Snapseed, and you can do so many things. You can, if you just want to correct and enhance, you can do that. Or if you want to really transform the image, you can do that. It takes about 2 hours. And we have people choose an image, and we do it all together. I think you have to be hands-on. This is not a lecture class. You have to sit there with your phone, and I had someone say, I'm not very technical, and I said, well, basically all you do is you take your finger and you run it up and down on the phone, and that's about as technical as it gets. It's a really WYSIWYG thing, but it's so transformative that people are so psyched when they get out of it. A lot of my students have been women artists. and they really appreciate the being able to use a better reference for their painting, or they just like playing around with images. And then you can do double images. I've been using something called Image Blend. There's something called Distress FX. There's just a ton of stuff. And you can really make a very distinctive, personal, emotive image out of your work. I'm not interested in snapshots. There's never an image that doesn't go through some process. They never put a raw image out there because there's so many ways to improve it. Even if it's just something simple, but I have people come and go, well, it was, I didn't do anything to it. I think, well, why not? You've got all these tools. You really could improve it. You really could make something very special out of it.
Interesting. You founded the River Winds Gallery in Beacon, New York. Can you tell us your experience of that and what type of gallery it was? And what did you learn through the daily operations? As us running one here, we've all had quite a learning curve here, so it's interesting to hear someone else who's had that experience. And how did you deal with the challenges of a sale? And how were you able to sustain the gallery for 17 years?
Well, we started out with 5 artists, and Paula Berry, who was one of the founders of Queen City, was also one of the founders of River Winds. And everyone in the group had some sort of corporate experience, which was actually kind of nice because we knew how to work in a group and get things done and a sort of sense of procedure, which is important, I think, in any kind of group thing like that. Eventually it came down to 3 of us. And you can't do a gallery by yourself. Well, you can, but I couldn't do it. I'd be gone within 6 months because there's too many. There's bookkeeping, there's the website, there's the social, there's just cleaning the floor, there's curating, there's hanging the stuff. I mean, there's too many different things. So we were able to sort of go with people's strengths. I was good at hanging. I was not good at bookkeeping, keeping away from bookkeeping. I could do the social media, so we did that kind of thing. And we had at one point about 50 different artists because we had jewelry and we had pottery. And it was fun to have the artists bring in new work, and it's like Christmas, open up a box to see what they brought in. And by just having 3 people, it was actually probably a little simpler than a co-op, to be honest. And keeping it over for 17 years, we've sort of had a rollover in partners. I'm sort of the only one who stayed the whole 17 years. About 4 years ago, we got 2 new partners. They had new ideas. They had their own experience from somewhere else. And that was great. And that sort of changed things and helped us go for another 4 years. With the COVID, our landlord decided that we should pay the rent for the months we weren't open, knowing full well that we really couldn't do that. I think he had another
plan.
He had another person in mind who was probably paying twice the rent we did. That's okay. It's a business. I get it. And frankly, after 17 years, I was ready to go. So we had a really fantastic going out of business sale, and a lot of people came in, and there were a lot of people who expressed how much River Winds had meant to them and how much they were going to miss us. So it was really, it was a lovely ending.
That's fantastic. What made you join Queen City 15?
Well, I need a place to show my work. I'm used to having a place to show my work. And so what's the point of taking photos and printing them out if no one sees them except on, social media?
I agree.
And I've been in a couple of group shows here, juried shows. So been to the gallery, and I sort of, it's a beautiful space, really interesting, very sophisticated group of artists. And I thought it would suit the kind of work I did. And I knew Paula, so I knew it was going to be run very well. And, anyways.
She runs it with a whip.
I know. And I was interested in Poughkeepsie because I'd been in Beacon, and I could feel Poughkeepsie was kind of beginning to get this scene together. There was sort of a lot happening. There was some money behind it. And it was a way for me to sort of meet new people and sort of expand my wings and find out about a different area and show my work.
Well, we're very excited to have you here, and thank you, and we're looking forward to a long relationship with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.